See, this all of you know there are two types of diseases: communicable and non-communicable. Non-communicable, communicable diseases we have experienced in form of corona recently, and non-communicable diseases actually are because of our own folly, because of what we are carrying out or what it is invitation we are giving to a lot of diseases by our own mistakes, by our own folly, okay, by choosing our wrong lifestyle. And today we have got a speaker in form of Dr. Bhargav, who also is a doctor, medical doctor, and a PhD in yoga. So he will throw light on this clinical relevance of biological mechanism of yoga in terms of non-communicable diseases. Okay. So first, before starting the lecture, I will request Sonali Madam to formally introduce Dr. Bhargav, and then we will continue with his lecture. So over to Sonali.
Once again, thank you, Nitin sir. Namaskar, Dr. Bhargav, and everyone present here. Today, Yoga Vidya Niketan gives us a Yoga Pushpa 9 on the topic of clinical relevance and biological mechanism of yoga in managing non-communicable disorder. And we are very fortunate to have a guest lecturer with us who is well educated and also very dynamic personality. And it gives me immense pleasure to introduce such a highly intellectual, highly well educated and cheerful person like him. Dr. Hemant Bhargav has completed MBBS from Indira Gandhi Government Medical College, Nagpur. Doctor has also done diploma in community psychiatry from National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, that is NIMHANS, Bengaluru, and MD and PhD in yoga and mental health from S. Vyasa, that is Swami Vivekananda Yog Anusandhan Samsthan, Bengaluru. He worked as a assistant professor and yoga therapy consultant at S. Vyasa University, Bengaluru. Dr. Hemant Bhargav is currently working as an associate professor of integrative medicine in the Department of Integrative Medicine at NIMHANS, Bengaluru. He is also an adjunct associate professor at Manchester's Mental Health Care, Harvard Medical School, Boston, USA. His research area of interest are yoga therapy, brain hemodynamic, Ayurveda, and integrative medicine, and its application in the field of mental health and neuroscience. Doctor has more than 86 peer-reviewed research publication in these areas, including 2 books. One is Yoga for Depression, and the second is The Science and Art of Yoga in Mental and Neurological Healthcare. Doctor has got gold medal for Best MD in 2009 as well as Best PhD in 2012. He has been awarded the prestigious Wellcome Trust India Alliance CPH in collaboration with Harvard Medical School for 2022 to 2025. Doctor has completed project Yoga for Opioid Dependence, Yoga for Type 2 Diabetes, and many more. He is also the advisor to UGC, that is University Grant Commission, Government of India for Yoga is Education and Research. He is a member of Ayush Guidelines for Children during COVID-19. Also, Tele-Yoga Guidelines for Central Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy, Government of India. So let us listen Dr. Bhargav and try to learn something more from him Thank you, everyone, and over to Dr. Hemant Bhargav. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Sonali, for the elaborate introduction. And I am thankful to Mr. Tavde for giving me this opportunity. And I would like to congratulate Yoga Niketan for achieving this milestone. Uh, so I'll begin my presentation. In this presentation, being a person who is from a modern medicine background and who has also explored the traditional systems of medicine, especially yoga and Ayurveda, I would like to, bridge this gap between the modern and the traditional systems by understanding which are the areas where we find still the clinical relevance for the traditional systems where modern medicine may not be sufficient. So with this, let me just give you an overview of my presentation first. So in the beginning, we will start with the current understanding of the non-communicable diseases, their prevalence, and what are the major NCDs that are bothering us. And then we will also try to understand the role that stress plays, in these non-communicable disorders. Stress, which includes the lifestyle components, and then what is yoga? What is the correct understanding of yoga? And then what is the current evidence base in terms of meta-analysis, systematic reviews, randomized control trials? What are the probable mechanisms through which yoga-based lifestyle may work? And what are the barriers in yoga research and what are our future directions? Dear friends, this is the WHO definition where they define health and well-being. So we see that health is something which is not only just the absence of disease, but there is a well-being that is now being accepted at 4 levels: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. The person has to not only get rid of disease, but after that person should continuously move from the normal health to positive health to perfect health. And we see that yoga, as the evidence that I will show you, is as useful for a normal person as it is useful for a deceased person. And it plays a role in the whole spectrum of the health, from prevention to the prevention of complications, so from the primordial prevention to the tertiary prevention. In all the situations, we see that yoga-based lifestyle adds value to modern medicine. Now, this is an example of a parable of a chariot that we see in Katha Upanishad, where there is a dialogue between Nachiketa and Yama. And this chariot shows how does yoga understand human anatomy. The whole human structure, if you look at it from the modern medicine point of view, when Hippocrates gave the concept of medicine, he understood humors, as we understand currently in Ayurveda. But later on, Macaulay came and separated. Macaulay, diluted the education system in India, but it was Rene Descartes who divided the body and the mind, and he says that whatever a human being that cannot be objectively seen need not be the object of research. And the whole modern medicine view, which is mainly, we consider it as scientific, but at the same time a reductionistic kind of an approach has come up because Rene Descartes separated the body and mind. And then we see that in modern medicine, the way the super specialization is happening is in such a way that people are getting more and more specialized on the particular organs of the body, organ systems of the body. Recently one of my friend who underwent an accident, it was very surprising that he had a separate surgeon to operate his shoulder, there was a separate surgeon who operated his elbow, and there was a different surgeon who operated his wrist. So in this way, we also see that there are specialists who do surgery of a particular joint. Even for the right eye and the left eye, we see that there are ophthalmologists who specialize in particular organs. So unfortunately, in modern medicine, what has happened is that the approach has become more and more body centered. Whereas from the traditional viewpoint, we see that the approach was more holistic. And this particular beautiful example of a chariot that we see in Katha Upanishad describes that these 5 horses are the 5 sense organs, which are always, moving outward. And these, when they come in contact with the sense objects, it gives the information to the mind. So the mind are the reins through which is a contact between the intellect and the sense organs and the senses. So in this way, the mind is connected to both of them. But ultimately, the senses through the mind should be in control of the intellect. And then there is an entity sitting behind the person with folded hands who is just watching. This is the observer. So the senses, the body, the mind, and the intellect are the observed, and the Atman or the Sakshi is the observed. So in this way, the whole human system, the whole human body is understood that it has all these components. And the whole journey, of yoga and the application of yoga in today's time especially are because yoga strengthens this inward movement of the consciousness. Currently, the whole education system, is directed outwards. We see that there are so many stimuli that come through the sense organs to the mind, and the mind does not have even a moment of respite. And that is the major cause which causes stress and the speed of mind. But here, the yogic lore from the beginning is about pratyahara, that you do not eat only through your senses directed outwards, but you also should develop an ability to turn your sense organs inwards and be able to feel the silence and peace within. So with this background, we see that the global epidemic of 21st century are non-communicable diseases. In previous century, we know that these were communicable diseases which were major killers. People were dying due to cholera, due to tuberculosis, due to malaria, plague. These were major killers. But then thanks to, modern medicine, where we were able to develop specific antibiotics, specific antidotes to remove these infectious agents. But then, we see that the mortality rates are now increasing currently due to these 4 major non-communicable diseases. Number 1 is cancer. Then we have heart disease, chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes. Ironically, we see that over the past decades, the amount of fund that has been allocated for research and development to find out the cure for these kind of problems has exponentially increased every year. But parallel to it, we see that the morbidity and mortality due to this disorder also kept on increasing. So on one side, millions and millions of dollars are being poured to find out a molecule which can be a miracle molecule, which can cure diabetes, which can cure cancer, cure heart diseases, or perform complicated surgery or replace the heart. But then we are also seeing that this kind of an approach of finding a single molecule as a solution of all the problem, you pop a pill and everything disappears, that kind of an approach has not worked. And now, there is a time that we bring a change in our approach. All of us know that these non-communicable disorders are multifactorial. They are firmly rooted in the lifestyle, and there are important lifestyle factors that are associated with the prevalence of these NCDs. Until we develop this kind of a holistic understanding of the lifestyle, of the role that is being played by our habits, and habits are deeply rooted in the mind. So my own ability to become aware of myself, to become aware of the speed in my mind, and to be able to not only become self-aware, but also being able to regulate myself forms the key, in reducing the lifestyle related factors in these disorders. Why these disorders have become such a global burden? One is sheer size of the epidemic. The current lifestyle is such that physical activity levels have gone down, and there are so many exposures. You go to any mall, you go to any big city, you see whatever options that are there that are easily available to eat. All of them are in some way or the other are a risk factor for these non-communicable diseases. So very important thing is diet. Number second is lack of physical activity. And number three is our inability to manage our stress. Fundamentally, people see that then the maladaptive coping strategies like smoking, drinking, and all other, habits where you are not able to manage your mind through a proper, coping strategy, then you get into all these habits, and this further aggravates or increases the risk factor for these NCDs. Secondly, these disorders bring a lot of economic burden, even to diagnose, NGO, if you have to just diagnose that you have the coronary artery disease or not, it requires a costly investigation. You have to undergo coronary angiography, TMT, and all those investigations can only tell you the diagnosis. But after that, the treatment procedures that we see are also complicated and costly. So once you develop any kind of this serious kind of a NCD, whether it is cancer, whether it is heart disease, it brings a lot of economic burden with it, and there are no easy solutions. And that is why these problems bring a lot of mortality and morbidity. So whether it is lack of physical activity, whether it is, your inability to control what you eat, or you get into bad habits, somewhere the understanding is that the more stressed you are, the lesser are the chances that you will hold on to a positive lifestyle. Everybody knows, that physical activity is important, that these are the food items which should be avoided, that certain kind of sattvic kind of food items should be taken, that these substances should be avoided. But how many of us, are able to follow those advices? Even the modern medicine doctors give these advices. They also say that, we are practicing holistic medicine, but the compliance with the lifestyle change that is advice is a major challenge. And why is it a major challenge? Why is an individual who knows that I have to follow a particular kind of a lifestyle is not able to follow it? So then everything boils down to the mind. So it is, Bhagavad Gita says, Atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Man is his own enemy, and man is his own best friend. So in this way, if my own mind becomes my enemy, what do I do? My mind doesn't listen to me. So it is here that the yogic science comes into picture. So this is what, recent researchers have also shown, that stress significantly impacts drug addiction, even in stress-induced binge eating. Stress-induced food intake is more, and there is a biological basis to that. And stress and life dissatisfaction are also inversely related to your physical activity levels. So now it is here, that we see the application of this age-old traditional system, which has undergone a renaissance in present new millennia, probably because today is the time when it is required. The speed of the mind has crossed all the limits. All of us have developed insomnia. In the bed, when we lie down, we know that our body is sleeping, but our mind keeps on thinking, day in and day out. And then what is yoga then? So the most wonderful definition of yoga comes from sage Vasishtha, who was the guru of Lord Rama. Vasishtha says that yoga is a trick to calm down the mind. Manaha prashamano upayaha yogaha. So what is this trick? How is it possible that by just using your body, getting into certain postures, or regulating your breath in a certain way, or mentally using certain tools, you will be able to achieve a calm, serene state of mind? And when the mind is calm and slow, you will see that your mind will start listening to you. When does my mind not listen to me? when I lose control over my mind, it is when the mind becomes too speeded. The faster the mind, the more are the chances that the mind will dictate you. The slower the mind, more are the chances that your intellect will be able to dictate the mind. So ultimately, yoga understands that slowing down is the key. If you are driving a vehicle and if you are crossing 100 miles an hour, it will be very difficult for you to make a turn. That flexibility will be gone. But if you are in the range of 20 to 40 miles an hour, you will find it quite easily, to use your clutch and take sharp turns also. So in the same way, yoga understands that the slower is the thinking process of the mind, the lesser is the agitation in the mind, the more easily you will be able to use this wonderful tool. The more speeded up, the more restless this mind becomes, the lesser ability you will have to manage it. People say that meditation is a state where mind should completely stop thinking. But it is not correct. It is not correct. Ultimately, as the heart has the dharma that it should keep beating, mind has the dharma that it should keep thinking. But ultimately, we have to understand one thing, that when we identify ourselves as the mind itself, as the mind body complex itself, and forget about the observer, that I was talking about in my first slide, then the space between my mind body complex and me as an observer gets completely vanished. The observer becomes the mind body complex, and then the slowing down of the mind becomes very difficult. But the trick of slowing down the mind is that there should be a gap between the mind body complex, the emotions that are playing within the mind, and the observer, an ability to take one step back. So Patanjali tells about Druk Shakti and Darshan Shakti. So we should be able to differentiate what is the observed and who is the observer. So when the observer becomes the observed, it is then that the problem begins. So therefore, in contemplating and developing that sense of observership, that kind of a Sakshi Bhava, the 5-layer model of yoga has been proposed, where the deeper layers of the existence known as Vijnana and Anandamaya, which is the nature of the observer. Observer is non-judgmental, it is filled with wisdom and blissful by nature. But then the observed has a wavy nature. Something comes up, goes down, again comes up. So the mind, the superficial layer of the mind, always have this characteristic that they are filled with emotions which are of attachment and aversion, and it never has a decision making power in it. Similarly, the more wavy the mind becomes, the more erratic the breath becomes, the more erratic the flow of energy in the whole system becomes. In some part of the body, the energy flows excessively, in some part it is not able to flow at all. So in this way, the apana and the prana flow become imbalanced, which imbalances the digestion process. And then when we eat food with low jataragni, it is then that this kind of a food creates an ama and forms the base for all these disorders to set in. Now, this is the yogic understanding of how non-communicable disorders develop. When I was doing my medicine, we used to have Harrison's textbook of medicine. And when we would look at the number of diseases that are there, endless disorders are there pertaining to each and every system of the body. And when we go into the etiology of those disorders, we see that more and more disorders are there where you cannot say a pinpoint cause, especially when these disorders are under the category of a non-infectious or a non-communicable kind of a disorders. But then after doing my MBBS, when I got into this yoga therapy and I tried to understand how does yoga look at disorders, it was very beautiful and very simple to understand. When Rama asked his guru, Yoga Vasishtha, the Vyadhi, Vyadhi is a disease that has manifested at the level of my body. So Rama asked Vasishtha, why does Vyadhi develop? Why at all, if a human being has to suffer from a disorder that manifests on his body? And what is the way out? How can I become free from all these disorders? Is it possible that I never become ill, or my body never suffers from any illness? So contrary to Harrison's understanding of very complicated multifactorial illnesses, where from environment to genes, all the factor play, and you cannot find a simple understanding, Vasishtha was very clear. Vasishtha says all the disorders in this whole world that manifests on human body can be classified based on the causation only into two types: Adhija Vyadhi and Anadhija Vyadhi. So what is Anadhija Vyadhi? Anadhija Vyadhi is a disease that is manifesting on my body because of external causation. The cause of the disease is outside the body into the environment. Say, for example, snake bite, poisoning, or electrocution, sunburn, or we can say accidents or injury or infections coming from outside into the body. All these diseases where the cause is outside the body, they are called as Anadhija Vyadhis. And then Vasishtha tells Rama, oh Rama, whenever you see a disease manifesting on the human body, but you cannot find out any cause outside, then automatically assume that the cause is inside. And then he says, when I say the cause is inside, then you have to go within you from the Annamaya, which is the physical body, to the Pranamaya, which is the energy body, then to the Manomaya, which is the body of emotional conflicts. So he says that these kind of Vyadhis, where there is no external cause, but they are manifesting on the human body, then we call them as Adhija Vyadhis. And these are the Vyadhis that are coming from the third layer of existence. Their root cause is deep-rooted, unresolved emotional conflicts. Now, how does it manifest, the Vyadhi where there is no external cause? First, the deep-rooted emotional conflicts keep on, revolving into the mental layer for months and years together. And after that, as something, some kind of a entropy or a disharmonized energy that keeps revolving within the system again and again and is reinforced by the, external or internal surrounding or atmosphere again and again, whatever that it is, this is called as a chitta vritti, a vritti, a pattern of thinking, a pattern of emotion that keep on rotating in my psyche for a long time, and over a period of time develops a speed into it and develops a penetration power into it by sheer repetition. If a rope keeps moving on a stone again and again besides a well, it can create a mark on the stone also. In the same way, an unresolved emotional conflict that keeps on revolving itself in my psyche again and again develops a power of penetration. Then it penetrates down, it starts getting into my layer of energy. When even at the layer of energy or the layer of prana, they say prana is subtler than electrical activity but grosser than the thought. So it is this pranic layer that starts showing those imbalances, and depending on the kind of emotion that is involved, it can select a particular prana, that is moving in a particular area or a particular region of the body, and that continues for months and years together. And after that, slowly it starts bringing electrical imbalances, genetic abnormalities, or the abnormality in the expression of certain genes, and then leads to neuroendocrine immunological related imbalances. And then the imbalances get deeply set in, and after that some symptoms appear on the body, and then our modern medicine tools are able to just diagnose what is manifested in the form of high blood sugar level or high blood pressure levels, or liver disease or skin related immunological problems, or immune system related problems, or a cancerous growth, or a asthmatic attack, or all our major problems now, they are related to Adhija Vyadhis. Do we say that there is a pinpoint cause for my diabetes outside, or my asthma outside, or my allergic tendencies outside, or my heart diseases? You cannot say that, because there are people in the home who are eating the same kind of food, who are sleeping on the same environment, but they are not developing heart disease. You are developing it. If allergen was the cause, everybody in Bangalore should have asthma. Why only 9% of the population suffers? So still the tendency of modern medicine is external locus of control. Put a cause on finger onto something, but yoga says that especially for these disorders, you will have to develop that capacity of looking inwards. And then it further goes in further details of these adhija vyadhi, and says that certain adhija vyadhis have their root in the past life, and these are called as the Sara adhija vyadhis, and they may be present by birth or manifest shortly after birth. These are the vyadhis which are most difficult to cure, and they are mostly incurable unless the person becomes self-realized or a siddha. And the other kind of a adhija vyadhi are the vyadhis where there is samanya. Samanya are the one which were not there by birth, but they were acquired because of a faulty lifestyle or a faulty thinking pattern in the present life. Then Rama asked Vasishta, okay, sir, thank you so much. You have told me about the whole classification of human diseases in a very simple way. Now, can you tell me how can I get rid of them? So Vasishta says that for anadhija vyadhi, because the cause is outside, the solution is also outside. So he says mantra, shalya, or aushadhi. The herbs that are there outside, the mantras. For snake poisoning, even now in villages, they use certain mantras, or the scorpion bite. And he says by using surgery, you can get rid of anadhija vyadhis. And it is here that modern medicine we see has been quite successful. The infectious diseases come from outside, so they were able to find out an antidote or the antibacterial agent, antifungal agents. They were able to find it out in the environment. Penicillin was discovered, and so we see that the aushadhi worked here. Second, we see that in any emergency, any trauma, modern medicine is life-saving, because it is here that the surgery aspect of it comes into play in emergency. And the third, we also see that various kind of poisons that are there are specific antidotes. Snake venom also, we see that you put the antidote and you can save the life. So for all the anadhija vyadhis, because the cause is outside, the solution also is outside, and modern medicine explore the outside world properly and in depth. It is quite effective. But then when the whole domain when shifts to the adhija vyadhi, the non-communicable diseases where there is no cause outside, the problem with modern medicine is that it is applying the same approach that it applied for anadhija vyadhis. For diseases due to external cause, it is applying the same formula for the diseases which do not have an external cause. So I am trying to find out a molecule like penicillin for diabetes. I am trying to do surgery, for heart diseases. I am trying to do surgery for cancer. But again and again, they relapse. They again come back. Why do they come back? I have removed it. Recently I came across a patient who was having anxiety disorder. This patient developed chest pain, 43-year-old male. They took him to emergency. They saw that ECG was showing a change where he had developed MI. They found out that there was a triple vessel disease. All the three coronary arteries were completely blocked. And ironically, this person himself is a cardiologist. And then they advised him, rather than putting on any stent, you just undergo a bypass surgery. So he undergoes CABG. After coming back from CABG, he is a doctor himself, he's a cardiologist himself. He follows all the precautions that are to be taken, all the medicines that are to be taken, all the diet regimen that are to be followed. But a very busy cardiologist. This person, post-CABG, after 2 months, again develops chest pain. And then when they investigate, in the newly formed bypass grafts, 100% blockage once again in 2 arteries. The new bypass is completely blocked again in 2 months in a cardiologist. So these kind of scenarios, do they not indicate that there is a very, very significant inner cause which is being ignored? We are trying to repair it from outside. We are trying to replace one medicine by another, one organ by another, but we are not looking at the force from where these kind of imbalances are setting in. And yoga says that whatever said and done, mind is the root cause. So mind is having an impact on the body. This scientifically we call it as psychoneuroendocrino-immunological axis, PNI, psychoneuroimmunological axis. If you want to read more about it, you can understand how closely the nervous and the immune systems are related to the thought processes and emotions in the mind. So now, the Aushadhi, Shalya and Mantra, they work for Anadhija Vyadhis. But then Rama asks, okay, so what do we do for this Adhija Vyadhi then? So we are only able to control. Now in modern medicine, the cure word has been replaced by control. Control diabetes, control hypertension, control asthma. Control also is a good thing. It slows down the progression of the disease. But are they curable? Yoga says yes. And there are researches where people have found out that by completely changing my thought process, by completely changing the way I look at myself and the way I relate to the world around me, Love, Medicine and Miracle, that book you should all read, or even we see that in the books by Deepak Chopra, where the quantum mechanisms of healing have been proposed. There are, cases where there has been spontaneous regression of cancer, spontaneous regression of these kind of dreaded non-communicable diseases by change in the mental attitude, by connecting to something higher than oneself, by changing the way one perceives lives or relate to the things, and also along with it bringing certain positive lifestyle changes. Dean Ornish, has been able to demonstrate that the coronary artery diseases can be reversed. Till then, modern medicine believed that once these inflammatory disorders, if they are caused, they cannot be reversed. They are irreversible. But then we see that scientists over the world have been able to show and prove that lifestyle change can reverse the manifested non-communicable diseases. And it is here that Vasishtha tells Rama that they can be cured or reversed by a process known as Prati Prasava. The concept of this comes in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra also. What does Prati Prasava means? It means reverse delivery. So yoga believes that you yourself created this disease, by becoming non-aware of your own faculties. So self-awareness, what goes on in my mind throughout the day, what kind of emotions I keep generating within me. Are these emotions more opening and connecting, or they are more constricting and closing? If you have these kind of emotions which have lot of restriction, closing, there is a lot of dvesha, raga, these kind of things that are going on, then you will naturally see that your heart chakra will keep on shrinking. And when that heart chakra shrinks, when that energy in the heart shrinks, it is then that there is a blockage in the arteries. So in this way, some deeper expansion, slowing down, has to happen. And it is here that this yogic understanding comes to rescue. Now, looking at the scientific aspect on yoga, we see that year by year, there have been an increasing trend in the number of randomized controlled trials in non-communicable disorders, application of yoga in different non-communicable disorders. I am only talking about systematic, rigorous, randomized controlled trials. So year by year, you see that there has been an increasing trend, and people are getting more and more interested. And now people also recognize that yoga as a therapy also is getting more and more popularity. So how does yoga originate? We have these three distinct zones for yoga: pre-classical, which is mentioned in Upanishads and which was more of a theoretical kind of a understanding. But sage Patanjali gave yoga a very systematic structure, And after that, two limbs of that yoga, especially the asana, kriya, and the pranayama part were emphasized in Hatha Yoga. So these are major, stalwarts of yoga who popularized yoga, around the globe. Swami Vivekananda, was the first person who took yoga to the West. And after that, we see Maharshi Mahesh Yogi popularized the transcendental meditation. Then Paramhamsa Yogananda popularized the school of Kriya Yoga. Then down with specs, we have Swami Kuvalyananda, who is the first yoga researcher in the world, was able to start a journal known as Yoga Mimamsa in 1920s. Can you, even imagine the vision of this Rishi? And then, of course, B.K.S. Iyengar, specifically, in the West, popularized the asana aspect of the yoga. So this is how, yoga from the fundamental concepts has evolved into the modern yoga. And unfortunately, currently people understand yoga mainly as some kind of a workout, some kind of a exercise as they go to gym, forgetting the holistic understanding which our sages had to offer. If you look at research, then there are two kind of researches that happen. Researches mainly in the East, are in the form of using yoga, all the domains of yoga. They use meditation also, they use pranayama also, and the lifestyle changes also. But in the West, still they mainly use the physical and the breathing components, and they use Hatha Yoga in their trials. Another unfortunate thing that has happened is, especially in the West, where yoga has been separated from meditation. They say yoga means you only move your body with breathing, that is yoga. And as soon as you sit with your eyes closed or do anything with that, then it is called as meditation. By meditation in the West, people understand whatever that you do with your eyes closed, everything, they have only one word to say, which is meditation. But if you look at the Sanskrit language, if you look at the yogic text, there are hundreds of things that could be done by closing the eyes. You close the eyes, you may be in a state of chanchalata, you may be in a state of ekagrata, you may be in a state of dharana, you may be in a state of dhyana, you may be in a state of samadhi, samyama, or so there are shunya, there are so many different kind of states that an individual can go into, but there are no objective tools to understand what is going on within a person. But these are all invariably, according to Patanjali, are the part of yoga which has 8 limbs. So the message here is that yoga is something which is fundamentally designed to aim at human mind. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is termination of the agitations of the mind. And in all these NCDs, emerging evidence shows that lifestyle plays a very important role, and in the imbalances of the lifestyle, mind plays a very important role. So it is here that yoga comes as a tool to enhance compliance with the required lifestyle change for managing NCDs. So these are the 8 limbs of yoga which Patanjali prescribes, whereas yamas and niyamas, are the behavioral precepts, how I connect with the society and how I channelize my energies within myself. So Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. These are the usual directions in which a human being can waste his energies if he does not follow yamas. So here you should put brakes. Niyamas are the direction in which you should channelize your energy. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapaha, Swadhyaya, and Ishwar Pranidhana. For different kind of personalities, different niyama can be chosen. For example, a person who is a karma yogi, busy in action, can go with the path of karma yoga by following Shaucha and Santosha. Whereas a person dominant in willpower and determination can follow the path of Raj Yoga by using the tool of tapas. A person very strong in his intellectual ability and ability to question, deeply, and a capacity to understand deeper nuances, then that is a person fitted for the path of Jnana Yoga by following the aspect of Swadhyaya, introspection. And then those who are actually, emotion dominant people, emotion is the strength through which they work, And for these people, connecting to something higher than themselves as Ishwar Pranidhana, the path of Bhakti Yoga. So in this way, Niyama become the ultimate tools through which you can enhance your coping strategies. And as a person follows on the path of Yama and Niyama, he develops an ability to sit still for a longer time. If you are a person who cannot sit still for a long time, then you have to ask yourself, which is the Yama out of this which I am breaking? Which is the Niyama out of this which I have a tendency to move, but I am not able to move? So you have to somewhere settle down with your Yamas and Niyamas. Till then, it will not be possible for you to sit still for a long time. And then once a person develops the ability to sit still, sthiram sukham asanam, then comes the aspect of slowing down the breath. Shwasa prashwasa gatir vichhedaha pranayamaha. And then comes or starts the real antaranga yoga, where the first thing that you have to do after settling down your behavior, body and breath is closing down of the sense organs. Prati ahara. Throughout the life, we keep eating. We keep eating not only through our mouth, but we keep eating of all the vishayas that we see through our senses. We hear, we see, we taste, we smell. But then there is another aspect that we can eat, we should eat, which is the soul for the food, which is prati ahara. That eating is only possible when the external eating has stopped. So you have to close down all the sense organs and turn them inwards. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna describes, now dware pure deve, those 9 doors of the body closed, and then what you have to do? You have to gather all your sense organs and focus them into the depth of your heart. And then contemplate on the Atman, the observer. So the whole inward movement of the consciousness is emphasized here, and then it can become one-pointed with effort, then one-pointed without effort, and then you can merge with it. This is the way dharana, dhyana, samadhi dimensions grow. So yama and niyama at the behavioral level, asana, pranayama at the physical level, then mental exercises of closing down the sense organ and internal focus, and then the spiritual level or the expansion. This is the way this model works. And a lot of researches have been done now to prove that this kind of a approach of yoga is required and can, bring about biological changes in terms of down regulation of HPA axis, reducing cortisol levels, enhancing GABA in the brain, and regulating several other neurotransmitters. BDNF, we did this research on depressed subjects, which is a marker of neuroplasticity, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It means that your brain develops a capacity of forming new synaptic connections, and the gray matter in the brain is found to be thicker in people who perform yoga regularly or into one of these yogic practices regularly. Ultimately, all these effects translate into your relaxed heart, better functioning of the the vagal outflow, and we also see that different areas of the brain show differential activation with different yoga practices. Ultimately, clinically, we can say that yoga enhance your quality of life and reduces the tendency of the mind to get depressed, anxious, inability to socialize with people, enhances cognition, quality of sleep and attention. All these things are a major factors in all non-communicable diseases. These are the ones which are perpetuating factors which do not allow the NCD to come under control, or the lifestyle that is being advised to be followed. So when these things settle down, you see that the person starts adhering to the lifestyle change much better. Therefore, in Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, all the effort that is there, from the social conduct to body to breath to mind to the focusing and defocusing of the mind, ultimately the whole approach is yoga chitta vritti nirodha, calming down the third layer of existence. This is what I was talking about. The red layer, the third layer, is the root cause for adhija vyadhi, and it is the balance should be done first at the relaxation at the bodily level, slowing down and rhythm at the breath level, and then calming down or becoming first aware of the emotional pattern within the mind, and then slowly, letting go and relaxing the mind. If you look at the origin, of both yoga and Ayurveda, we see that they come from the Vedas. Ayurveda comes from Atharva Ved, whereas first mention of the word yoga is found in Rig Ved. And the other important aspect, in managing NCDs is the personalized approach of treatment which these traditional systems follow. So these 5 basic elements at the level of the body form 3 doshas. Air and space combine to form Vata, fire and water combine to form Pitta, and water and earth combine to form Kapha. These are physiological functions. The movement is Vata, the metabolism is Pitta, and the structural stability and viscosity is Kapha. And the same forces in a subtler way in the mind manifest in the form of activity as Rajas and lethargy as Tamas, and Sattva being the balance between the two. So there are ahara, vihara, vyavhara, all kind of lifestyle suggestions that are there that can be advised based on your prakriti. A dincharya can be given, a ritucharya can be given, which can further, help you live in harmony with the cosmos and thereby achieve a deeper level of stability and calmness. So this is what I was talking about. And ultimately, both the systems look at bringing a state of balance in the physical layer, in the pranic layer, and in the mental layer, so that the physical layer gets in touch with the deeper 2 layers, which is Vijnana and Anandamaya. And when these deeper layers touch the physical layer, all the abnormalities which are accumulating are cleared away and the diseases are reversed. That is called as the Prati Prasava by Yoga Vasishtha. So this is how the disease manifests, by constriction from the 3rd layer to the 2nd layer to the 1st layer. And the reversal can happen if the 1st layer can get in touch with the green layer or the blue layer of Vijnana Ananda by turning inwards. So this is what I was talking about. Stress has become a major contributing factor. How, this stress manifests in terms of the imbalance. So fundamentally, what is stress? If you properly look at it, stress is only about 2 things. One, whether I will get what I want, and number 2, whether I will be able to avoid what I don't want. Stress is only about 2 things. Whether I will get what I want, and number 2, whether I will be able to avoid what I don't want. Whenever I have to go through something which I don't want, I am stressed. Whenever I am not able to get something which I want, intensely I want, then I am under stress. So stress is always about a conflict between what life offers to me and what I desire. Now, there can be only 2 ways to resolve this conflict. One is every time life starts moving according to your desires, then you will be able to come out of stress. Or second thing is that you make use of this freedom within you, that you are not limited to or bound by your desires, and you have the freedom. Very few people in life are able to use this freedom. Gautama the Buddha, is the person who was able to use this freedom to the fullest. He says, okay, the person there in front of me who is angry on me, who is insulting me, has the freedom of using certain kind of words. But I also have the freedom, whether to take what he is giving me or not. In the same way, in the whole creation, you will see that only human beings have been given this freedom to do the action in the way you want. The free will, is being given only to the human beings. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Karmaneva adhikaraste, that you as a human being have the adhikara to do the karma. Ma phaleshu kadachana. But once you do the karma, how your karma will be processed and what reaction will be given, that is not in your hand. But yes, now in this moment, what kind of karma you want to initiate, what kind of chintana you want to have, that what kind of sankalpa you want to make, and then that sankalpa you want to manifest in your what kind of action, that is completely in your hand. But most of us are not even aware of this very simple law, that you have all the freedom in this world right now to change your actions, to do the action kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum shaktaha. You can do it in a way, following the law of gravity. If I hit the ball on the ball has to come back to me. This is because the ball is bound by the law of action and reaction. Correct? This law will work even at my bodily level. If my body falls, it will have an equal and opposite force from the earth, which will hit it. But as we go subtler into our existence, this law doesn't work anymore. If somebody throws anger at me, if I am bound by the law of action and reaction, I will also get angry. But within me, in my mental domain, I have the freedom that even if he throws something at me, I will either kartum, I will either react, or I will not react at all. Akartum, you throw the ball doesn't come. Nothing comes back. Or anyatha kartum shaktaha. Or I may, instead of showing anger at him, I will show compassion. So this freedom that we have in what life brings to us, we do not have any control. But how we react to it, that complete freedom has been given to us each moment, every moment. And in the whole creation, it is only the human being who has this freedom. You can see, in circus, a mighty, huge elephant, stands on a small ball, and a very thin, lanky kind of a fellow, because he just, is able to show a stick to the elephant. Because of the fear, the elephant does whatever this person says. But if a human being is suffering at a job, next day he can write a resignation and give to the boss. Boss, this is my resignation. From tomorrow, I am free. I am not coming to your circus. So in this way, we right now, wherever we are, it is a delusion that we think that we cannot change it, or we cannot, have a different kind of life. What kind of life you want? It is completely in your hand right now. You have infinite freedom. The whole world, the whole universe is open to your action. Karmanyev adhikarast. But then, once you have done an action, after that, how it will be processed, what result will come to you out of that, is none of your business at all, because there are very different kind of phenomena or calculations. Krishna says, Gahana karmano gatihi, that are in work. So our problem is, we think that we do not have any freedom in doing our actions, and we think whatever we are doing is the best that we can do, and we think that we have complete control on the results. But the fact is, it is exactly opposite. We have complete freedom on doing the actions, and we do not have any control on how it will be processed. So this itself, can relieve a lot of stress. So this particular graph, my guru, Dr. Nagratna from SVASA, uses this in her slides. So these are external demanding situations and internal demanding situations. Every day in our life, we see that there are people around us, there are situations around us, which suddenly demand something from us. If you have a very strict boss and you have a deadline to finish, you have to do things in a certain point of time. This is the external demanding situation. Or there is somebody in your family who is very ill, or there is an interpersonal, relationship related conflict that is going on. These are all external demanding situations where you have to keep on responding. And then what are these internal demanding situations? These are my own, ambitions that have been put on myself. I see many people, who are perfectionist in what they do. It is good, but then what happens is, it puts tremendous pressure on themselves. So my teacher here at NIMHANS, he says that perfection should not become enemy of the good. So in that way, people who are perfectionist in their attitude, whatever good that they could do, they fail to do that because of these internal demanding situations. I put such kind of a ambitious targets before me. I put myself only under so much pressure that responding to my own, ambitions, lot of stress get generated in the system. And when, we respond to the situation in our life with a conflict within us, that I don't want to do it, but I have to do it because I have no choice. So within you only there is a force which is pulling you down, and within you only there is a force which is pushing you. So pulling is also within you, pushing is also within you. In this friction, dear friends, nothing else. In this friction of your own energies, that your health gets deteriorated. Now, this friction, which is stress, can manifest in the form of creating an aberration in your immune system, where on one side your immune system may get compromised and you may get infections again and again, or on the other hand, it may make your immune system hypersensitive and may cause autoimmune diseases or allergic tendencies. It may, if you have a degenerative kind of a personality, Vata kind of a personality, it may simply accelerate the aging process in you. The disorders, the illnesses, the appearance that you should have 20 years later will start coming to you now itself because of this friction within you. Or if you are a person who is, more, you can say, low in willpower, not able to suppress it within, and it will manifest in the mind itself in the form of anxiety and depression. Or it may simply create an imbalance in your voluntary or autonomic kind of a nervous system, bringing disorders related to your digestion or breathing related system or musculoskeletal system. So therefore, externally what life brings to me is not in my hand. After my action, what kind of reaction comes from life is not in my hand. But to respond to the situation that life brings to me is completely in my hand. If I have to do it, then is it possible that I do not resist it? I just love it, whatever that comes. So it is in this way that we have to use our inner potential, our inner strength of expansion. So just ask yourself, is there a way that I can avoid this task? If your mind says that it is not possible to avoid it, then the next wise thing is to just accept it wholeheartedly and do it without any resistance. So taking it as the wish of the God. If you are a believer, just take everything that comes to you as the desire of the God. If you are not a believer, then you take it as a challenge that I have to expand over it. It is something that is constricting me. I have to expand myself. So how do we use these kind of principles in our yoga therapy? Many people, as I told you, they find that I do not do yoga, but I go for exercise, I go to treadmill, or I go for a walk. Physiologically, if you see, we have done some researches. We find that as compared to an exercise or a treadmill walk or a gym, the physiological effect of a yogasana, if it is done properly in a yogasana way, sthiram sukham asanam, where your body, your breath, and your mind are in complete sync, then this has a opposite effect on the human physiology. Yoga does not bring a pressure into the system which exercise can bring. And most important differentiating point is that yoga has a capacity of making you self-aware, what goes on in my body, in my breath, in my mind. But that does not happen with exercise, because your headphone is on, some music is going on, or you're thinking something, or you're talking on phone and doing it. That kind of exercise may bring some loss in your calories and does not have any deeper benefits. But yoga takes you deeper, and that mindfulness component, that self-awareness component is the key which differentiates yoga from exercise. Now, I would like to ask people here, do you think there is any connection between body, breath, and mind? What do you think? What kind of a posture a person would adopt if this person is very sad? There is an emotion of sadness in my mind. How will it manifest on my body? What will be my body language if I am very sad? No, anybody can unmute and share their views.
Drooping.
Drooping of the shoulders. Wonderful.
Yes.
Anything else? Lataji, and anything else happens? My shoulder droop down. What else?
Face is sad.
No? Face, sagging face is sad.
Looking down always.
Looking down always, he would not want to have a eye contact with anybody. Wonderful. So which posture does a person adopt when he feels sad? You know, if you look at
Bhujangasana.
which asana?
Bhujangasana.
Bhujangasana. So would you say that the person, you know, who is really sad, without he being conscious of it, he will assume a posture like this? Do you agree with this? Yeah.
Yes.
We can suggest him.
Yeah. Now, my question to you now is, this we generally consider as a posture of sadness. You know, if you properly see this posture, if this person is lying down on his back, then this is Pavan Muktasana. No? Or if the person is sitting on his knees, then this posture becomes Shashankasana. Now, whatever, you know, we say, my question is, when a person feels the emotion of sadness in his mind, why does he adopt only this kind of a posture? Why not this person, you know, opens up his chest or looks backward or upward? Why this kind of a posture? What is the kind of a, we can say, the mechanism or the thought process that brings this posture?
Fetal position.
Way to go inward, or the way to sense with it.
This is a fetal
Wonderful.
position.
Nitinji also says that it is fetal position, and I think Sapnaji gave a very important insight, you know, that the person may be not wanting to connect with anybody in the surrounding and want to go inwards. Anybody else?
Yeah, when the spine is straight, the sadness goes away because of the breathing.
No, my question, Lataji, is why in sadness a person goes into this position?
For relaxation.
Madhavji says that it may be relaxation. He may be feeling more relaxed.
Be with
He wants his
Soothing.
own space.
with himself for some time.
Soothing.
This
Wants
also
his own space.
This also
Wonderful.
changes how one person breathes. Changes how one person breathes, like the chest going, caving inward. And this breathing has some effect to the mind, where the mind is told to stop thinking for some time or something like that.
He wants his
Wonderful.
own space.
Soothing.
I think there are, you know, very learned people in this group that I am addressing. Very nice answers. As
Sir, he don't want to show his face to others.
So somewhere the person feels
Expressing his emotion, and
Ah.
he might be trying to find comfort so that everything is a response. So whenever we are faced with some emotion, so what we tend to do is we respond to it. So his way of response may be like that, and that is how he may be sulking, or he may be whatever posture he may be assuming.
yeah.
The
So
person wants to have his own space.
Fine. So basically, you know, every asana that we have has a feedback mechanism. My mind has a certain situation, a certain emotion, and my body is responding to it in a certain way. So if my mind can produce an effect on the body, is it possible that by voluntarily regulating my body in a certain way, I can bring a change in the state of my mind? You know, as Nitinji said, this is a fetal posture. A person feels more secure and more safe inside the womb of the mother, you know, and probably, you know, in the state of sadness, this person also wants to feel safe and secure. So What happens when a person assumes the, is in a very happy state of mind, So it is here that the person wants to open up, spread his arms, he looks up, and there is an opening up where he wants to hug. He wants to hug the whole sky, So there is a feeling that I should connect to more and more people, and there is no fear in the heart. See, all our vital organs are in the front of the body, our heart, our eyes, our face. Even with somebody comes with a stick to hit you, you want to close down. You will close down like this because you want to protect your vital organs. But when you are doing a chest opening kind of a asana, you don't mind being vulnerable. You trust something deeply. So we do something, in our depression module, we call it as hands in and out breathing. You join your hands together. As you breathe in, you spread your hands, gentle smile on the face, look up, breathe out, and come back. Now what is happening is, though the state of my mind is sad, I am giving a signal to my body that, through my body to the mind, that I am in a positive state. So in this way, we find that just by doing 10 rounds of hands in and out breathing, people subjectively start feeling better, improvement in their mood. So in this way, the breath, what do you think? What happens to your breath when you are angry? In a state of anger or sadness, what happens to the breath?
Faster.
Breath becomes fast.
Speedy breathing.
Breath becomes shorter.
Speedy breathing.
Very good. So it is, one is speed and other is, people are talking that it becomes more shallow. Yes. Anything else?
Not rhythmic.
So this is very important. The rhythm of the breath is lost. So there have been researches actually, people have tried this plethysmograph on the chest and tried to understand the pattern of breathing, that goes on with different kind of emotions that are being experienced. So in the same way, if I am voluntarily able to breathe in and out in a certain ratio, which brings a state of joy or meditation in my mind, will I be able to regulate my emotions better? People who have anger outbursts, who have anxiety, can we generate a pattern of breathing, which can counter these kind of emotions in the mind? So this is the way that we plan yoga therapy, breathings for anxiety, anger management. Here I would like to draw your attention towards this interesting research done by Bloch et al. In 1991. What they did was, they hypnotized these subjects. And then in the state of hypnotism, they asked them to bring those kind of situations in their life where they were very sad, where they were fearful, angry, erotic, joyful. And then they observed the movement of their chest, when these emotions were coming. So here, if you look at the first graph, in the state of sadness, the inhalation is more interrupted, and exhalation is sharp, and sudden. And go to the last graph, where the inhalation is short, and sudden, but then the exhalation is more prolonged and broken. So it is in this way that we see that there is a opposite pattern. When in a state of sadness, the breathing out becomes lesser, whereas in the state of joy, the breathing out becomes longer than the air that you breathe in. So what we do is, in depression, we also use this particular kind of breathing known as the Surya Nadi Pranayama. When you feel low, when you feel sad, when you have any kind of a performance where you want concentration to come in, it is recommended that you do Chandra Nadi Pranayama. It is very simple. You just close your left nostril, breathe in 4 count, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you have to breathe out double. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just continue this for 27 cycles. So here you are voluntarily generating a positive kind of a breathing pattern, which will generate positive emotions in your mind. So it is in this way that you can use this science of body and breath to change the patterns of thinking in the mind. And researchers have also shown that the same thing, if you do through the mouth, it does not have those effects. So you have to breathe in through the nostril unless it is specified. Usually breathing out is okay through the mouth because you can wash out your carbon dioxide. But whenever it has to breathe in yogic text, it is always through the nostril. And now scientists have found out that the olfactory bulb, which is there, can be stimulated by the nasal breathing, and it is connected to PFC, ACC, insula, amygdala, various centers and hypothalamus of the brain. Also, the internal nasal meatus, there are external opening, there are internal openings here. At the root of them, there are glossopharyngeal nerve fibers. These nerve fibers are also connected to hypothalamus and can bring about a switch in the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So slow, deep breathing, reducing your breathing to less than 6 per minute, shifting it from thoracic to abdomen, and prolonging your exhalation. It has a significant impact in attenuating pain and also bringing a relaxation response. Similarly, a breathing where the breathing rate goes above 80 per minute, fast cyclical hyperventilation can bring a sympathetic activation. And when you feel very sleepy, very drowsy, the fast breathing activates the mind. So both ways breathing have been used, and studies even suggest, that they have effect on your memory. People were able to recognize emotional faces and remember them better during inhalation phase than exhalation phase. It also, enhances your interoceptive awareness and help emotion regulation. This is the research that we did at NIMHANS on mantra chanting. We asked 12 people to lie down under a MRI scanner and chant the mantra Om, O and Ma in the ratio 1:2, like this. Om. O for 5 seconds, Ma for 10 seconds. And as a control condition, they simply chanted the hissing sound like this. So no vibratory component of Om here, but the breathing ratio was matched. And what we observed was that exclusively during the chanting of Om, there was deactivation of the limbic area. Now, this is the area of the brain which is associated with negative thinking, negative rumination, that calms down by chanting of Om. And this actually, by seeing this research, this researcher from UK came to NIMHANS to understand, and this article was published in Financial Times, London, where we could replicate the same finding with the researcher herself. So now, towards the end of my presentation, I will just quickly show you a recap of the current scientific evidence. As I showed you, number of RCTs are increasing every year. What are the countries which are doing majority of this research? After India, it is United States, where yoga as a therapy, is coming up in various disorders. And then after that, we see that UK, Australia, Iran, and Germany also are into yoga research. And what are the major disorders where these randomized controlled trials have been published? So surprisingly, stage 3 and stage 4 breast cancer subjects, they have found yoga to be very, very useful, where yoga improved not only their quality of life or quality of sleep, but the side effects of chemo radiotherapy also came down. Second important condition is type 2 diabetes, then depression, asthma, and of course, back pain. So these are the disorders where there is no doubt, that yoga works. Recent guideline shows that even in mild depression cases, you can give yoga instead of an antidepressant medicine also. Similarly, what are the other conditions where yoga has been found useful? So apart from these 4, there is hypertension, pregnancy, normal pregnancy, yoga has been shown to reduce the chances of cesarean section and more birth weight in the baby. Schizophrenia, especially stabilized patients who do not socialize, they start socializing better. Menopausal symptoms in the women who are in that perimenopausal phase. Multiple sclerosis, metabolic syndrome, stress-related other illnesses, coronary artery disease, COPD, COPD, cancer, neck pain, eating disorder, fibromyalgia, heart failure, menstrual irregularities, osteoarthritis, obesity, and substance use. So these are the various conditions where yoga has been found useful. And as you can see, studies show a particular domain where yoga is useful. So in short-term HbA1c reduction with diabetes is seen. Safety, 301 trials show that yoga is as safe as any kind of usual care or exercise. In chronic diseases, irrespective of the diagnosis, yoga enhances exercise capacity, quality of life. Yoga improves fatigue and mood. In MS, it reduces anti-inflammatory markers, especially C-reactive protein. And on heart, blood pressure, waist circumference, cholesterol, these are the benefits. Improves better HDL levels, good cholesterol becomes better. Angina episodes and exercise capacity becomes better. There is also a short-term antidepressant effect. Functional disability reduces in back pain, and mental and quality of life improvement in cancer patients, reduction in pain in fibromyalgia, chronic pain conditions, enhanced spirometric capacity in asthma, and reduced anxiety. What are the yoga things that are used? Most of these researchers have used either posture or breathing control, but then we see that now the holistic component of yoga, all the component together, or the meditation emphasize yoga also is being used. Now, finally, what is the mechanism through which yoga works? So there are two ways in which yoga works. One is known as the top-down approach, and other is the bottom-up approach. The top-down, they say that predominantly the effect is coming from the, you can say, the cortex, subcortical areas, and thalamus, where yoga has been able to show that it enhances the thalamic GABA levels. And yoga also brings about a change through the hypothalamus in the autonomic nervous system, where it brings a state of parasympathetic dominance. Through hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis, it also reduces the cortisol levels. And through these two axes, hypothalamo-pituitary axis and sympatho-adrenal axis, yoga brings relaxation response, a calm state of mind with reduced speed of thought in the mind, and therefore better ability to manage oneself. In yoga research, major barriers are, one is you cannot do a double-blind trial because it is very difficult to find out a placebo control for yoga. Anybody who does yoga will come to know that I am doing yoga, and who does not do yoga will know that this is a fake yoga. In India especially, it is difficult to do that. Then the objective tool to monitor very subtle effects of yoga, people feel happy, people feel relaxed, but these you cannot capture in MRI or anything. So some tools, do not allow certain practice to be assessed, like in MRI scanner, you cannot do sitting or inverted postures. Similarly, the bias in self-reporting, the guru effect, certain kind of yoga works only when they are advised by the guru. When the third person teaches the yoga, or if you do not have belief on a person, he teaches, then same effect is not observed. And then adherence to yoga also is a challenge. So in future, we should focus not only in management, but also in prevention of non-communicable diseases, which is a very, very important area. And deeper understanding is needed for the mechanisms. And we need better tools which can understand subtler aspects of yoga, the quantum model, not the linear Newtonian model, which work on that, and other explored areas we can apply. While teaching yoga, it is important that we have caregiver present, especially for children and elderly people, and avoid meditative technique in people who have history of psychosis. We should never touch the patient without proper permission. Rapport building is a very, very important aspect, because you will see after a yoga session, patient would want to come and talk to you. And it is there that proper, ice breaking can happen, and deeper counseling possibility can open up, which can change the attitude towards life and then brings major changes. Similarly, it is important to consult both caregiver and patient separately to understand it properly. And group sessions, we have found they are better. For further reading, those who are interested in our work, you can refer to this particular textbook. which is available in Amazon. A paperback copy is there, and in Kindle version, you will also be able to see a soft copy. During the pandemic times, we started this tele yoga session for stress management, and we are still continuing them 3 years down the line, because people said that they found them useful and they wanted to do it every day. We could publish these results where we found tele yoga to be quite useful in improving well-being and reducing stress. And this is the Zoom link for the yoga session that we offer every day in the morning. It starts sharp at 6:50 a.m. and continues till 7:40 a.m. Those who want to learn simple yoga breathing techniques and asanas for reducing their stress, they are welcome to log in. There is no registration that is required. You just have to put this Zoom ID and passcode. The sessions are conducted from Monday to Friday, 6:50 a.m. to 7:40 a.m. And on every Tuesday of these sessions, I take the session on Tuesdays, and we actually have some philosophical discussions after the session. So all of you are invited to join those philosophical discussions. Finally, I would like to say that integration should happen in medicine, and this integration should happen like a football team. The people who are in the front row, they are the center forward, they are the aggressive people who want to attack. Whereas the people standing behind are the defense, the goalkeeper and others who prevent the attack. So I say that these center forward are the modern medicine people, and the defense are the Ayush people. And both of them have to come as a team together, to win the match against NCDs. So the take-home message is that integrating best of the modern and traditional treatment methods on an evidence-based approach is feasible and potentially useful. There is need for high-quality trials, and more, institutes should take up lead in this area. I would like to acknowledge our collaborators and my mentors, Professor D. Nagaraja, Professor B. N. Gangadhar, Dr. Shivram Varampalli, and Dr. Nagratna and Dr. H.R. Nagendra from S. Vyasa University. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Just can you tell in some 5-6 lines the basic, the climax of the things you have told us, like it is deep and all. So just for a lay person to prevent any diseases coming, some basic 5-6 lines to do.
Yes. So what I would say, as a take-home message is, please do not think that the non-communicable disease that you or your loved ones are going through cannot be reversed. They can be reversed. Their root lies in the root for this reversal lies in living a balanced lifestyle, and the base for a balanced lifestyle lies in having a calm, relaxed state of mind. And to have that calm state of mind, you have to begin your day with yoga. If you start your day by going into a deep state of relaxation, you will see that the whole day will have a different quality. You will feel that you have more freedom in managing yourself and in holding on to the positive lifestyle choices that you make. And in this way, by making simple, changes in your attitude and your choices in your lifestyle, you will be able to overcome this challenge of NCDs. Thank you.
No, to prevent, we don't have any diseases, but we don't want any diseases.
Same approach works for prevention also, madam, because ultimately we have to follow a balanced lifestyle.
So you mean diet, poses, meditation, everything together?
Yeah, at least in the beginning of the day, if we are able to spend 45 minutes in starting with the body, going to the breath and doing some kind of a chanting of your Guru, prana, and then meditation. If you make that as a regular part of your lifestyle, then you will be able to prevent a lot of problems in future. One is by bringing a relaxation through these practices, it will relax all organ systems in your body and optimize their functioning. But the second is, by relaxing the mind, it will prevent lot of problems that otherwise would have happened because of our uncontrolled emotional expression, or our inability to control our cravings. All these things would become better if yoga becomes a part of lifestyle.
So you teach this in the morning sessions?
Yes, we teach every day, 6:50 a.m. to 7:40 a.m. I have shared the Zoom link already.
Madam, this is continuing for so many years. We have participated with this, so this continues. So thank you, doctor, very much. Will you please stop sharing, sir, so that we can?
Yeah. So anybody who still wants to take a
Yeah,
photo,
that I will pass on into the group.
Fine. Thank you.
That I will pass on. So I'm very thank you, and on behalf of Yoga Vidya Niketan, it was a wonderful session. Even if you had continued on and on, all were mesmerized. And thank you very much for the same. And one thing I would like to one thing I would like to mention, the founder Yogacharya Padma Shri Nimbalkar Guruji was the disciple of Goviananda. He was his ardent disciple, and he was a part of Kaivalya Dhamma. And then in 1974, he formed this institute, and now we are completing 50 years.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And the same thing he has continued going through the research and all these things, and still it is going on. And on the personal level, I still remember, as you have mentioned, that Esvyasa days, myself and my wife are also the Esvyasa students, and I remember the good old days with Dr. Nagaratna, as you have mentioned. And thank you very much, doctor. And not before we conclude, I would request Jaya madam for the vote of thanks. Sonali, over to Jaya madam for the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this most interactive session and most wonderful session. I'm very sure nobody wanted it to stop. Everyone was so engrossed because you so beautifully explained all the concept with the simple words and simple examples. Like, how we calm down the mind with, you gave the example of the speedy car. So with such simple examples, we could relate it to it. So because everyone wonders why we are not able to control. Theoretically, we know everything, but we are not able to adapt it or implement it. The example you gave was simply amazing. Like, we could instantly connect with it, say why we have to calm down the mind, and then only that intelligence can take over, that we will be able to apply our intelligence. And then there is so much to talk about it, but then already it is, we have already exceeded the time. And you made the session interactive, you connected with the people, and you have given so many takeaways for the yoga therapist here also, with each example also, even the pranayam, the omkar, and it was the most wonderful. And there are no words. Really too good.
Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much for sparing. We know your schedule is so hectic, and with all your activities, for getting you also, it was so difficult, getting contacting you itself was so difficult. And then in spite of that, you spared your time and you came here for our this seminar. And thanks a lot for that, for sparing the time for all of us and for your wonderful session.
No, this is something which I offer as my gratitude to sages like Swami Kuvalyananda ji and Swami Nimbalkar ji. So whatever we know is actually because of sages like them. So we can never be busy for such things. Yeah.
Yes. And to conclude the session, as per the tradition, I would request Sonali madam to conclude the session with one omkar.
Yes. After listening to such a beautiful and wonderful, informative lecture of Dr. Bhargav, we will end our yoga pushpa with chanting one omkar. So sit straight, keep your back straight, close your eyes, inhale fully. Enjoy the positive vibration of Omkar on your body and mind. Now slowly open your eyes. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, everyone.
And before we part, doctor, let me tell you, this is not the end of our relationship. We'll keep on calling you for different sessions. We'll keep on calling for different sessions and all. I'll be in touch with you. Thank you, doctor, once again.
Sure. You are welcome, sir. You are welcome.
Thank you very much on behalf of
Thank you very much.
We will end the meeting here. Thank you, everyone, once again. Bye bye.